All right, we are live with the latest YUI Open Roundtable for Thursday, May 15th, 2014. I'm going to go to the phone. More guests arriving as they come. And I'd like to welcome Reid Burke on the YUI team to come talk to us about YO tests and continuous integration and some of the stuff you've been working on lately. So take it away, Reid.
Cool. Hey guys. So yeah, I've been working for a good long while on testing stuff for Yahoo and for YUI, and lately I've been working on bringing YO tests to more projects besides YUI at Yahoo. YO tests has been really successful for YUI. We continue to use it daily for checking the status of our project, for understanding the health of each commit, and for making decisions to release or to integrate features or not. And it's been working really well. So we like for really the thing that's new about YO tests is that you can look at the status of particular code revisions instead of particular, say, builds, right? Which don't mean as much when those builds could have been building different things. They could have been building an older code revision, or they may not have tested a particular environment. And so it's more useful for us to look at the status of our code by like the environments that we test. So this is going to be useful for a lot more than just YUI, and a lot of people want it, and so we're bringing this to other projects at Yahoo right now. We're building out a version of YO tests that actually will work with more than just YUI. And yeah, I'm really excited to be building that, and to have, and the ultimate goal is to have all of Yahoo's open source projects available on a public instance of YO tests, so that folks who contribute to YO tests and submit pull requests and anything else can leverage our internal CI infrastructure to run tests on, and then see the results in this interface. So yeah, that's what we're working on, and I think it's going to be really great.
Yeah, just some background history. If you look at the YUIConf videos, Reid has a talk about YO tests there that gives a great background about feature set. And have we had any movement like on the number of browsers or number of tests or anything like that since then?
Yes, we have, and I just do not have those numbers handy right now. So
it's getting bigger.
It is. It is. So yeah, we're definitely in the like mid-tens of millions. And yeah, so.
And how many we do? Like what? How many tests per check-in?
Well, it looks like from looking at the screen, do about 140,000 about.
And it's divided across like what, 10 or so?
About a dozen environments, yeah. So yeah. So yeah, I mean, from here we can see that yeah, our release is looking pretty good. So that's what it's for.
One of the things I think Clarence mentioned, you were talking about these new task flows that you were working on, like some of the integrations with Screwdriver and things like that.
Yeah, so we have tools that we use internally for building projects that are built on top of Jenkins. So we leverage Jenkins as internally for building most projects. Most things at Yahoo use Jenkins. And folks at Yahoo have built things on top of Jenkins that help us understand the data that comes from Jenkins and help scale Jenkins. And so I'm working with the folks who are developing these, like the superset of Jenkins, or this thing that controls Jenkins, to integrate YO tests with that internally. But of course our goal though is for YO tests to work with any CI system. And so YO test does not say go out and query a CI system. Instead, it expects the CI system to have its results pushed to it. So that isn't how the YUI test that we're looking at here on the screen works today. This version actually goes out and we'll go and ask, it'll actually go out and query Jenkins. But the scalable way and also the way that's more flexible and allows for folks to use more than just Jenkins is to just have really any CI system, including Travis. And so I'm really looking forward to the day where we can see on our publicly hosted YUI test instance both our internal builds and also our Travis builds, or builds with really any CI system that we might use in the future.
And part of the benefits of this, just to click through, just to give a bit of an example, if you look on, say, Dev3X right now, we have 3 of these stable unit failures. They're not real failures, they're sort of flaky, but just to show a little bit about what that looks like. Can you talk a little bit about how this works? It's got the build hash, or the commit hash, and then the test that failed.
Yeah, so we so another part of what YUI test does is YUI test is kind of made for projects that is actually made for YUI, and that's a project where we only tested about 3 different browsers first. So we really only about 2 years ago we only really tested one version of, say, Firefox, one version of IE, and one version of say Chrome. But when we finally had the capability to test on more than those environments, we found that because we haven't done automated testing on those environments ever before, that we had a lot of test failures. Now we had over 99% of our tests pass, over 99.9, but still we had enough that when you're running 130,000, 140,000 tests, that still is hundreds of failed tests. And so what we are doing and continue to do today for select failures, that is our functional test failures, is classify. I'm sorry, we do this for our unit tests, not for functional tests anymore. But our unit tests, we wanted to distinguish between unit tests that are unstable and our unit tests that are stable. So we have some unit tests that are known to fail because of legacy reasons. They just weren't written well in the first place. They only really worked well on the environments that were tested back then. But now that we're testing on multiple environments, we want to understand if code got worse. And it's very hard to do that when you have hundreds of failures every build, and some of them sometimes fail, some of them don't. And so when you see things fluctuate so much, it's very difficult to understand the health of the project. And so what we did to address that is, inside of YUI test, is have a notion of a stable and unstable unit test, for example. And each of these can be classified as stable and unstable. How that works in our new system that's being built right now is that the CI, however you integrate with the CI system, you can determine your own rules and your own logic for determining if something should be marked flaky or not. And based on that, then you can, once you tell YUI test, you can actually, have a test failure that's important that should, cause notifications, for like pages or whatever, or show like a big red, box with your failures. Or you can say that that's something that should be recorded, but not necessarily have to be acted upon by an engineer. That would be classified as, say, a flaky test or an unstable test. And so I'm pretty happy with the fact that this is flexible enough so that you can write your own logic in JavaScript or any other language that can classify the tests for you as they come out.
So we have 2 different kinds of tests. We have the unit test and the select test. So the select tests are more the functional test, right?
Yeah, select is basically our functional tests. And so yeah, in the YUI tests, they're just different kind. You can have any arbitrary number of test types, right? You can have your unit tests or your functional tests or smoke tests or whatever you like, and those would be reported differently. So, and the current system that we're looking at now, there's only what's called unit select, which select are basically functional tests. So yeah, And the UI will look a little bit different, but that hasn't been started yet. So far, I've just been working on the backend service that will that's taking in all this information. So
this is extremely useful because when we're doing like the week of testing for the release, which is what we're doing right now, if someone checks in something and it starts causing stable test failures, we can pinpoint the specific check-in that caused the problem. And it really eliminates a lot of the uncertainty around, who changed something or what happened, and also having to cut down on the number of manual tests has really improved. Like the fact that we can just do this so quickly, like we don't have to wait several days to wait for the manual test to be back. So I think that's another huge benefit of this. I'm trying to actually go to one of the tests themselves in Jenkins, but network's not working too well.
Yeah, it's all good.
Yeah, so this is really awesome stuff. So in terms of like things that folks out in the world might see, do you have any time frames for that, or?
So like I said before, something that we really want is to have the status of all of our projects that are built internally to be shown to the public. And so that's our goal to have by the end of the year. But I think, that we could probably get that done sooner, but I don't have anything specific to share right now.
Right, and that'll be an open source project that other people could contribute to. And
yeah, we're building this from the start with the intention of open sourcing it, and so it'll be under a different name, but that's our goal. So.
And is this tied at all to Yeti or not? Is it?
This has you could use Yeti to run tests, but this doesn't depend on anything, any particular test framework or CI system. It's really up to anyone can write something that would deliver test results to the system. What I mean by deliver test results is simply that there is a API for everything that's over the web, over RESTful calls that you make and that are authenticated with, say, GitHub or GitHub Enterprise if you want to run this on your own inside of your own organization. And so, there's really this can work with anything.
Is there a specific schema that the data has to be in order for this to interpret it properly? Is that like a standard?
There's pretty standard stuff, just the name, duration, and what kind of test it is, unit functional, if it passed or failed, if there's a failure, stack trace or some more information. So it doesn't probably store every bit of information that everyone would like to have, but right now it's enough for you to get real work done. So additionally, there's also a facility for monitoring performance aspects of builds that is not in the version you're looking at now.
Right.
So there is a way for builds to communicate, say, how long they took or how long certain parts of it took, and those things can then be, say, graphed. So it's pretty simple, but I think it'll still be very powerful when you get to organize it based around code revisions and environments.
So is this extensible for things like, say, code coverage or something?
I don't have anything to share about code coverage at the moment, so but code coverage could be a metric, say. But yeah, code coverage is a pretty difficult problem to have in a standard way across many different projects, many different kinds of languages, which determine code coverage in different ways. And so our focus is on testing and also reporting, say, aggregate code coverage information. But also, that's basically where we are right now. Code coverage is important, but I think a lot of folks are going to get a lot of value out of just the testing side and also some aggregate code coverage information. But I look forward to adding more helpful features around code coverage at some point. So, or with the help of the community.
Is there any potential for, like, say, hooks into GitHub, like webhooks or something like that?
So this really only works with GitHub. So whether it's GitHub or GitHub that you run as an instance inside of your own organization. So on the front end you log in with GitHub. You add your projects that are from GitHub. So yeah.
Cool. Trip, did you have any questions while we're... No? So it's an active development. It's something that may be coming out sometime this year, and it'll give a lot of added value to folks who are working on many different projects, not just YUI.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about testing. And there's no integration necessarily with Yeti. It's just whatever test framework you want.
Yeah. So,
Awesome.
so yeah, we built this with the with intending, for it to really be useful for multiple different browser environments. But really, you can imagine, say, if you have your own, if you use, say, Travis, you can run, say, Node Travis tests on many different versions of Node, and those could show up as environments. Or you could have your own CI system that supplements Travis, like we do. And so we could show Travis results alongside your own CI system that runs, say, behind your firewall, and have a public instance, or just use our own hosted public instance for something. So, yeah.
So some of the dependencies are GitHub, Jenkins potentially.
So there's no dependence on Jenkins.
But it's just one of the things you can use.
Yeah. So that's something I'm working on right now. Actually, is building out, building the integration with Jenkins. That's just baseline. So like no matter but there could be any So what I mean by baseline is that when you if you have anything in Jenkins, you're guaranteed to get some basic information about tests, because Jenkins does a lot of work for parsing different kinds of test types to show it in its own UI. So if you're already using that, then this can read off that, and that's the lowest common denominator inside of Yahoo for almost everything. And so winds up reporting to Jenkins in some way, and so that's what we're going to leverage. But going forward, we're going to have more fine-grained importers that understand more about things like code coverage, or can actually supply test results as they finish inside of a job. So basically the idea is that you would understand when a build was started for an environment, not just a build started for, build whatever started, but this build, which services these 3 environments, has started. And so you could see that those environments are now in progress of starting, and you could see when their test results come in as each environment finishes. And ideally, we get to a state where we can actually have streaming test results. Once test frameworks catch up with that kind of concept. But we definitely are excited about having test results available the instant that they are done. And that's really just a function of support inside of your own test framework. So as soon as your test framework can, or the thing that whatever client reports to your test can support that, then it's ready to go. We can do that. So.
Any plans to have integrations with external testing companies like, say, Sauce Labs or things like that?
So this doesn't really depend on you. You'd kind of, once you have Sauce Labs running in any CI environment that you like, it just shows up as test results. Mm-hmm. And so really, we love Sauce Labs, but yeah, it's really just we're looking at integrations perhaps with, say, services that are like Travis. Mm-hmm. So. Or things that you'd run in that are like Travis, say like Jenkins.
So, but I could imagine like Sauce Labs maybe having an instance of this running as a service to their own customers eventually.
Perhaps.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, that's all I had in terms of questions and stuff. I'm trying to see if anyone on channel has got anything. Having network connection issues still. I know that you're pressed for time, so I wanted to thank everybody for coming today. This is pretty much a short roundtable because we are got a lot of things going on. Just a quick update about the next release, 3.17.0. As you can see, all the tests are passing. There's no unit test failures. I've been monitoring GitHub to see if there have been any new issues coming up since the release candidate's out, and so far so good. We've also got a number of tests issues that this release fixes. So if you have a test environment out there, I encourage you to get this release branch, get an instance of this, and test it out. before for the end of this week. And if you run into something, please let us know right away with a issue. Outside that, I think we're good to go. So we're going to close out our roundtable early this week. Thanks a lot, Reid, for coming and talking with us about your tests.
Sure. I'd like to share, if anyone is still with us, some like a statistic on how much we have tested. So right now we are at, so we started using YUI tests for YUI about the last third of last year in 2013. And so to date, we have tested 52,968,145 tests exactly. Have gone through this system, and so
we should have that up at the top there, like a McDonald's sign or something.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So you're almost at 53 million tests that have been processed through the system that we are having information on. So, so yeah, we run a lot.
And this is why when we do have pull requests that we always encourage folks to add new tests, because this makes everything that much more robust.
Yeah, so that's a piece of data I wanted to share.
Cool. So
52,968,145.
45.
Of course.
And that number's probably gone up since then. It'd be nice to have like an odometer or something you could run.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, thanks everybody for coming tonight, or today. See you next week. Next week we'll have Solmstead talking about ES6 modules that he's converted all of his YUI components over to. So that'll be cool. See you next week.